Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today we have to talk about just what we all need, and that's Facebook owning the fastest AI supercomputer on the planet, or they soon will. And here's what's going on, and believe me, I'm not a fan, and I will explain that soon, but here's what's going on. Essentially, Meta, aka Facebook, is the largest tech company to build a quote-unquote AI supercomputer, which is basically a high-speed computer designed specifically to train machine learning systems. Now, the company basically says its new AI research supercluster, or RSC, is already among the fastest machines of its type, and when it's completed mid-2020, it will be the world's fastest. And I quote Mark Zuckerberg, "Meta has developed what we believe is the world's fastest AI supercomputer. We're calling it RSC for AI Research Supercluster, and it'll be complete later this year." Now, this news demonstrates the absolute centrality of AI research to companies like Meta. Rivals, obviously, like Microsoft and NVIDIA have already announced their own AI supercomputers, which are slightly different from what we think of as regular supercomputers. Now, RSC will be used to train a range of systems across Meta's businesses, from content moderation algorithms used to detect hate speech on Facebook and Instagram, to also things like augmented reality features that will one day be available in future augmented reality hardware. And of course, Meta says that the RSC will basically be used to design experiences for their new metaverse, the company's insistent branding for their interconnected series of virtual spaces, from offices to online areas. And to quote a blog post from Meta/Facebook on this, RSC will help Meta's AI researchers build new and better AI models that can learn from trillions of examples, work across hundreds of different languages, seamlessly analyze text, images, and videos together, develop new augmented reality tools, and much more. Now, before the end of 2022, phase 2 of RSC should be complete, and at that point, it will contain about 16,000 total GPUs and will be able to train AI systems, quote, with more than 1 trillion parameters on data sets as large as an exabyte. That is obviously very, very massive. And both Microsoft and basically Microsoft's AI supercomputer actually has 10,000 GPUs out there. So this obviously is a huge, huge thing. Now, what I find interesting about this is what Facebook isn't saying is that they can also train this to understand your habits better, understand your preferences better, so that they can hone their advertising. Facebook is one of the largest advertisers on the planet, and them having a supercomputer, while it's going to do all of these kinds of things, it's not really being moved towards scientific research and all those kinds of stuff. That's not what they're saying. They're going to train their internal systems to better data mine you, better advertise to you, and that's not what they're saying. It's the same reason why I'm not a big fan of Google having a supercomputer. Google has a lot of different research projects out there, way outside of the scope of something like a Facebook, aka Meta, in that Google has been looking at advanced cybersecurity techniques, building unique encryptions based on basically AI and artificial intelligence, all that kind of stuff. But Facebook seems singularly focused on essentially their bottom line, basically data mining the bejesus out of you and then selling even more accurate data to advertisers, which is how they're going to make their money. Not to mention everything that they are analyzing in the metaverse. I've talked about this before, but once you're in full augmented reality, they're going to be able to see not just what you're typing on Facebook about, oh, I like, X, and now you're getting advertising for X. They're going to see your mannerisms, your tics, your preferences, what makes you uniquely you. Interestingly enough, if you're looking at forensics, we can identify people by things like their gait, meaning the way they walk. Basically, they're going to be able to do the same thing, and now they're going to have a supercomputer that can hone in on that very, very tightly. And I think that's a concern. When you are looking essentially at what is an unregulated industry in this sense, Facebook can spend their money any way they want to. And I'm not necessarily complaining about that. They can build a supercomputer. My concern is that I still think there are a lot of people out there that don't realize just how deep this rabbit hole goes in terms of data mining. And now they aren't just dropping a massive array into this. They are dropping the world's fastest research cluster basically into this, a supercluster, if you will. And here we are. So I think that is going to be a big problem that we have, because at the bottom line of this is that we are actually the product here. And so they are building a supercomputer to mine their product, meaning us, vastly better than they've ever been able to do before, which means they're going to be that much more accurate with advertising and that much more lucrative. And I think that's what they're not saying here. And so when they're saying, oh, we're going to train other artificial intelligence to look at hate speech, great. I'm fine with that. I have no issues with that, providing they're not violating, some kind of rights here around the globe. And I'm not saying hate speech, has rights, but you know what I'm saying here, right? So I'm trying to understand, why this would be seen overall as a good thing. While they're saying these positive things, nobody's really talking about the advertising side of this, which is why the world honestly doesn't need Facebook or Meta, as they're now calling themselves, to have the world's fastest AI supercomputer. So there you go. That is your news of the day, and good luck to us all. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at Nick AESP, where obviously you will be data mined by the world's fastest supercomputer, at least on Facebook, and also on YouTube as well. And that company, Google, also has one of the world's largest supercomputers as well. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please stay private. Thanks, everyone.